we'll give it a few minutes, and before we get into anything too deep, maybe we'll get some people tuned in.
Yeah, no worries. So, out of all those samples that were shipped to you, which ones have you tried so far?
If I'm being honest with you, this is the only sample that I've tried, which is the toasted rye.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
then this was the only bottle I ever bought, just because I saw people on social media talking about it, and I'm like, man, it looks interesting. I read a little bit about you guys. I was like, I'll give it a try. When I first cracked this bottle, I did a review on it on YouTube. Wasn't impressed. About 2 weeks, I work offshore, so about 2 weeks
Sure.
later, I come back to it. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not the bottle I opened 2 weeks ago. Really liked it. So who knows where my palate was that day or whatever, you know?
It's small things, man. You could wake up and your back could hurt and it puts you in a bad mood, and all of a sudden nothing tastes good, or you got a
Yeah,
headache, or you're thinking about work or anything.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Well, good. We
that
got
bottle. Go ahead.
what's that? I was gonna say we got a few people tuned in, so I guess we'll being that we're crunched on time,
Sure.
we'll go ahead and get started. So for those that are tuned in, we'll have a hard stop on this one about 5:45, 5:50 at the latest. We'll be with Larrikin at 6. So anyway, we're going to talk with Chris. He had a tight schedule today and was able to fit us in. And Chris, I'm glad that you did take the time to talk with us. I know you and I wasn't able to talk prior, so appreciate you taking a meeting with a complete stranger.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and then also obviously we want to talk a little bit about Hard Truth.
Sure. So my name's Chris Moore. I'm the barrel manager with Hard Truth Distilling Company. It's just a fancy way of saying that I'm the person that gets to catalog everything. I do a lot of the evaluations with Brian, product innovation, quality analysis. I started off at Kroger meeting Brian in about 2017, before any of our 325-acre campus was even up and running. And he introduced himself as a master distiller of Hard Truth, and I just nerded out with him about whiskey every time I saw him. And he was a super easy guy to talk to, knowledgeable about whiskey, knowledgeable about a lot of different things in the distillation process. And it got the wheels turning in my head about, like, this is a place I could see myself working. So
Mm-hmm.
I would just constantly, every time I thought about it, I would email him or text him like, hey man, if you guys got an opening, let me know. Just looking for an opening. And eventually about a year, or probably about 2 years later, after I met him, year and a half, something like that, he told me there was an opening over at the tour center, and I got my foot in the door there. And within 9 months, I was at the distillery full time. I did a lot of like just hand bottling, a lot of blending, and then eventually got into distillation itself, running the column, doing a lot of the cooking stuff. And then that quickly became, hey, we need somebody to like manage these barrels. You're pretty meticulous about all these details, seem pretty organized. So I've kind of been Brian's right hand man, getting all the information together and making it mean something. I don't know if people really understand when it comes to blending how much data is really involved to make it make sense and make it transferable into a glass of whiskey or a blend. But that's kind of been my role. And in the last 2 years, we've kind of expanded some of those things. I've got 2 guys that work in the rack houses with me, and I couldn't ask for better help. But yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride so far. We're always innovating, always trying to expand. I think we're going to be in quite a few more states this year. So look out for us. Go to hardtruth.com and you can see where any of our products are available in your area.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about Hard Truth altogether. Obviously, I've read a little bit about you guys just online, but that's pretty limited knowledge. But sounds pretty interesting to me, and I'd just like to know kind of like the history of it, and did they source in the beginning? Have they ever sourced? Did they source now? Did they distill everything their own? Like, just
Sure.
give us a little backdrop.
Yeah. So before Hard Truth was even around, the owners that we have in our ownership team, they actually started a brew pub in downtown Nashville, and that quickly ended up becoming a brew pub and a brewery. And since we had a brewery up and running, I think it was 2013, Indiana changed some of their laws that said that if you had a brewery or a winery, you could apply for an artisan distilling permit. So our owners, again, being the forward-thinking guys they are, they jumped on that as fast as they could. And then we launched Hard Truth in 2015. Originally, that was more clear spirit side. So it was your vodka, cinnamon vodka, gin, white rum. Eventually, we added like toasted coconut rum, which was a big thing. I think 2019 we did that one. And then we sourced some whiskeys to start us off while everything was aging, but we did start laying barrels down in 2018. And then around 2021, when our sweet mash rye was finally ready, and it was giving us the flavor profile we were kind of looking for and we were hoping for, we slowly started to phase those source products out. But we now have our sweet mash rye, high road rye, our sweet mash bourbon, sweet mash wheated bourbon, and sweet mash 4-grain bourbon is kind of our staples.
Okay.
A whole bunch of barrel finished reserve releases, more than I can really list at this point. A bunch of single barrel stuff. It's been a lot.
Okay, awesome. So did they start out primarily doing rye whiskey, or did they do the bourbon and the rye starting out simultaneously?
We were laying down both at the same time, but it did take a little bit longer, and we weren't happy with where the bourbon was, and didn't want to rush anything because we know you only get one shot to release bourbon, and we want to make sure we did it right. So we just kind of let our source products for bourbon carry us through until we were able to launch those. So we had our Sipes Rye, which was a smoked barrel product, our Sipes Bourbon smoked barrel, and then our Sipes Bourbon in Jamaican rum barrels. So we had all of those as kind of like our lead-in whiskeys. We had some Schoonover whiskey, which was a source product that was 14 years, and then an Irish whiskey as well.
Nice. Wow. Y'all kind of run the gamut then.
A whole bunch of mash bills that we were laying down and a whole bunch of barrel types. And I had to kind of figure a way to make all those pieces come together. And, it's been exciting.
Awesome. Where do you guys source your grain from? Is it all local, or y'all kind of throughout the country getting it, or?
So our corn is all 100% from Rush County. It's a farmer named Doug Miller. So that's in Indiana. So that's pretty local to us. Our rye, we've done some stuff with Dwayne Kuhlenschmidt, who's an anesthesiologist over in the Evansville area. We usually just kind of like piece the rye and the barley together. Barley's just going to be like a bulk product anyway. But our corn, for sure, we wanted it to be something really special. We wanted it to be something that was local, and Doug kind of like holds the really good stuff back for us to make sure we can make some really good whiskey out of it.
Awesome. Well, I was telling you my first experience with you guys was this sweet mash rye, because I'd seen it on social media and didn't have any idea about you guys, so I wanted to get it and try it. Pretty big fan of rye as it is, or high rye bourbons as well. And when I first opened the bottle, the day that I reviewed it, I wasn't too fond of it. I was like, that's pretty decent, but I think I paid, I don't know, I think maybe in the 70s for the bottle, and I was like, And like I was telling you, work out of town, and a couple of weeks went by, and come back home, I tried the bottle and I was like, whoa, that's totally different than what I tried. So I don't know where my palate was that day, or if it's just the fact that the bottle needed to breathe just a little bit, but really enjoyed it, on the second go around. And the whiskey community being what it is, I had several friends that were big fans of you guys. And so, I had several people send me samples of your stuff. And so I got to try, I think the toasted that you and I were talking about earlier. I was like, okay, well, maybe we're on to something. And that's actually what led me to reaching out to you guys. I was like, well, that's two products that I've tried so far. Maybe I need to try and review others, and this is my first time tonight. I just poured the double oak, and I really like most double oak products. There again, back to liking ryes as well. When I poured that in the glass, I don't know how far I am from that glass, but I could smell it that far away and tell you that it was pleasant. And I really like it. I don't know how long you guys double oak. It doesn't seem like it has a ton of barrel impact on it, but it definitely has more than your sweet mash rye.
Yes. So the double oaked, I think we went 2.5 years, and then we put it into brand new barrels, mostly char 1. So I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of the sweet mashing process.
Tell me all about it, brother.
Sure. So with sweet mash, you do fresh grain, fresh yeast, fresh water every single time. So we aren't using any back set, and it's all going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to give you a lot of those real fruity esters, those the really bright sweet notes, a lot of vanilla. So because we aren't looking to subtract anything like acetaldehyde, that kind of like green apple skin, flavor, we can afford to go with that lower char profile. So instead of us looking to subtract anything from the whiskey, we're looking on how to accent the fruit, how to accent the spice, any of the sweet notes that we're looking for. So we double oaked in primarily char 1, and it allowed some of those slightly fruitier notes to come into play. It allowed a little bit more of that sweetness, that caramel. And then those sat in there for about 3 years. So it's about a 5.5-year-old product.
Okay.
But I mean, it really added everything that we were looking for that in that whiskey, because at the 2-year mark, roughly, with whiskey, you kind of hit this crossroads where your 5 HMF, which is like all those sweet caramel notes, is kind of like at the peak of where it's going to be, as translactone, which is like toasted coconut kind of flavors, is coming up at the same time. So it's really going to kind of round that flavor out.
Well, I mean, your description on it is spot on, especially with the oak. And, with most double oaks, for me, you're going to get all the darker sweetnesses, the darker flavors, the darker chocolates and tobaccos. And this thing is right there with what you were saying. It's bright fruit. There's some sour fruit in there. It has great mouthfeel, but it's lighter on the palate. It's unique to say the least. And, sometimes you say unique to be kind and say that it's not that good. It's really good. It's just unique in profile as it differs from the rest of the double oaks that I'm used to. Got a few people chimed in. Mike said hello. Hey, Mike. Bourbon and Beard says, what's up? Bourbon Badger said good afternoon, and also said heaven in a glass.
We appreciate that.
And then Chase Simmons said, looking forward to hearing about Hard Truth. Haven't tried a single product, but have heard good things. So Chase and I are pretty good friends. And I guess, Chase, you and I are in the same boat there, because I had not tried it either. And, when I started the whole wanting to get into the influencing thing, man, was I overwhelmed by the number of SKUs in a liquor store, right? Like, you see one distiller and then you start seeing all these products just from that one distiller, let alone all the other brands that are out there, and then learning, who's distilling and who's sourcing and who's blending. And man, it'd just blow your mind. And if you get to the point where you're overwhelmed and you walk by labels that you don't know about. And so I kind of made it my goal to seek out those labels that nobody else is buying, but, hopefully through talking with the community and learning from people that like unique things. So trying to lean away from, the corporate world of whiskey, right? And get away from the bigger names. And man, have I learned that there is some amazing whiskey out there that some of the, I guess if you want to call it, craft distillers are making. And I think you guys are no exception to that.
Well, and it's funny that you say that you see all these different things from the same distilleries, because if there's one thing that I've learned in the last, I'd say 4 years of working really closely with Brian, restraint on our part of innovation is very hard to do, because we get so excited about all these different ideas. We want to make them all happen. And you end up with a 4 SKU release at the same time, or trying to figure out how to stagger them to get apart, so you're not kind of flooding the market all at the same time. And it's definitely a challenge. You've got to kind of reel yourself back, control yourself on how you're going to release those, when to start those things, what makes the most sense, how the market's shifting. There's a lot that goes into that. But I mean, there's a lot of great whiskey on the shelves, and for us to be that much of a part in, I think, 28 states now, it's definitely a good feeling.
Well, I definitely think that that is a big challenge, and I think that the ones of you guys that are willing to take it on are pretty bold, because I think a lot of people are just going to stick with their 1 or 2 SKUs and keep it moving. But how do you stay fresh and new to the market that's constantly changing, and the next best thing's always coming out, right?
Well, and that part for us is really fun, just because like Brian and I are big time foodies, and for us, when we look at Sweet Mash, since there are only really 5 bigger distilleries, but usually about 3 big Sweet Mash distilleries, we don't really have all those rules and boundaries, and nobody's kind of clinging to tradition. We can figure out different ways to kind of do things, because our process is so different, flavor profile is so different. So when especially when I'm doing stuff if we're barrel finishing anything, and we're trying to figure out, well, how long do I let this rest? Well, we don't really have that recipe yet because nobody in the sweet mash realm has done that to any particular degree. So, I mean, we're kind of learning as we go. But the key part for us is kind of using that data and then making it make sense for us to go forward with a lot of those processes.
Gotcha. We've got a question about one. Bourbon Badger wanted to know, tell us about the 3-barrel batch wine finish, and then also, are you guys coming to Georgia?
Georgia's coming very soon. I don't have a definitive timeline for you, but it is in the works. And is he talking about the Sauterne wine finish or Pedro Jimenez sherry finish?
We'll wait for him to comment back on that. I would assume the sherry.
I guess I can tell you about both of them.
The Sauterne, I mean, that is a really sweet wine, right? Kind of similar to a Tokai type wine. And
it's close. So I'll start with the PX sherry, and then I'll move to the Sauterne.
Okay.
So the Pedro Jimenez sherry barrels, they all were, I think it was a 12-year age sherry, and they made their way over here from Spain. And I did a custom blend of sweet mash rye just for that barrel type. And I used barrels that I knew were going to yield a lot of dark fruit notes, a lot of spice, but a lot of extra sweetness. So I kind of wanted it to balance out all the sweetness out of the barrel with a little bit more bold spice, but I didn't want to cover it up completely. So when Brian and I were doing our trials on that, and he kind of gave me the keys to the castle with all of our barrel finishing stuff, we kept a close eye on that one, and it ended up being this really deep, almost like cassis, a lot of vanilla notes. It's like almost like a Concord grape. There's custard. There was so much wild stuff that came into that one. But I mean, 3 barrels to me wasn't enough. Like, that one went so far, so fast. And that's one that I would love to do again. So if you guys feel like you're wanting to see that in the market, just flood our emails. Just tell us how much you want it, and we'll try to make it happen. Then the Sauterne, so that is a white wine that is comprised of Semillon, Sauvignon Blanc, and I can't remember the third grape. But there's 3 different grape types, all white wine, and they are intentionally like hand-plucked individual grapes because they have a mold that starts to grow around them called a Botrytis sternea, and it's converting phenolic acid into sugar. So that's the primary acid source in grapes. So it ends up being very sweet, and they actually called it noble rot because back in the like medieval times and stuff like that, they would actually save that for royalty. But so we took those, just the same deal. We made a custom blend, and this time I tried to do a little bit more, something that would kind of boost that anise flavor that comes in from Sauterne, more of that like grape heavy flavor. And it ended up being a wild ride. That one, it turned out so much different than I anticipated, but I enjoyed every second of it.
Awesome. So Tom Morrow is on. He said, Chris, I must say that doing a barrel pick with Hard Truth with Cam from Drums and Drams was the best barrel pick experience.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you guys get into Georgia, let me know, because I'd love to do a pick with you guys through Rome Liquor. So that would be fun to do. But what was the deal with that one that Tom's talking about?
Drums and Drams, those guys are fun. I think we gave them 6 samples to choose from. Jerry, who's my kind of sales counterpart in the single barrel program, he ran point with those guys, and they had a blast. And then, I mean, there's so many different stories we have, but we won't keep those on here. What happens in the rack house stays in the rack house.
I got you. So I'm about to try the barrel finish reserve. There again, I don't know much about that one at all.
Oh, the 2024 blend?
He didn't say, but I assume so because I just got this here recently.
Does he have the proof on it?
No, it's just a sample bottle that a buddy sent me. And if I'm being honest, I don't know who sends me what samples if they don't put their name on them.
That's a beautiful thing.
As you can see them back here, I get quite a few, and I got boxes full over here. But and thankful for that because, man, we get to try so much good stuff. But I'd love to always be able to keep up with who sent it, you know.
It's probably the 2024 blend if they just put barrel finish reserve. So that's one that we released last year, and Man, it went faster than anything that I have ever seen us release in like the special LTOs.
No kidding.
Yeah, so
what's the story with it?
So the same barrels we just talked about, the 3 PX Sherry, 3 Sauterne, add 3 Cognac VSOP finish, and then 2 Pedro Jimenez brandy finish. And those brandy finish are what's called a I can't remember the actual term. So they're basically coopered in 1948. They had PX Sherry in them for 17 years. And then they had PX Brandy in them after that. And they do the Solera process, but they have enough barrels on hand where they only dump 2 barrels per year, but they end up kind of snowballing everything down the line. And these barrels were just dumped in, I think it was 2021 when I ordered them, and they came in 2022. They came in 2023. We finished some stuff and did each one of those 4 different expression releases. And then I wanted to get another extraction out of those because, again, we don't know yet because our processes are also new. So we went for the second extraction, and then we added some Japil French oak and let those rest on there for a while and blended them all together because we wanted to have kind of like an homage to I can't remember what that blend is called. But yeah, we wanted it to be like a blend of all 4 different barrels.
Gotcha. Well, it's definitely more my jam. Now, I'm not one to go for the brighter stuff frequently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess for me, brighter would be better. You know, summertime sipping kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place for everything, right? But this one is much darker and has like a lot of tobacco and just a dark, deep flavor, right?
It's like a cigar blend, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There you spot on. And
that's what I was looking for.
That is my jam for sure.
Yeah. Well, and especially with our ryes, those are the ones that bring the most fruit flavor forward. Our bourbons, like there's definitely a lot more of that, like kind of caramely tobacco, a little bit of leather on some of them. So, I mean, it's a whole different thing, and they're a lot sweeter.
I definitely like it. So are you guys going to do more of these in the future? You're saying they sold out, so I'm guessing this one's gone, right?
We have something resting in those barrels that I can't talk about just yet. But we've got a lot of projects coming down in the next like few years. We just finished all of our projections for 2026, and I've got all those batches carved out. So we've got some stuff to keep you guys busy for a while.
Awesome. Well, keep me in mind on these flavor profiles because that's definitely my jam. That's right up my alley, man. Let's see what other questions we might have here. Okay, so Tiffany, a good friend of mine, is on. She's saying that Hard Truth's about an hour from where Joanna's from in Indiana. She's saying we need to go visit. I'm going up to see her tomorrow and actually going to Hollow Creek and then going to Highwire. I don't know if y'all can hear my dogs barking. If you can, I apologize. My in-laws just came in and got their cat. We were sitting and now the dogs are riled up.
That's all good.
Let's see here. And Tiffany, I'd love to go visit. You know that. Bourbon Badger says the rep at his local store said that he was expecting you guys in Georgia maybe this month or the next.
It's soon. I don't have a timeline, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, lucky for me, I get to just kind of sit back, evaluate a lot of the bourbons, a lot of the whiskeys on the distillate side, on the maturate side, blending strategy, that kind of stuff. And when it comes to our release strategy, I get to do this.
I get it.
Yeah. We do have, there are 2 barrel picks that'll be coming into Georgia basically as soon as we launch. So keep an eye out for those. I don't know if I can or can't say who they are yet, so I'm not going to.
That's okay. Yeah. Understood. Corey Monster said that he said the local Kroger pick of the rye was absolutely phenomenal. He hadn't had a chance to try any of the other offerings. You said that's where you were in the beginning. Was it Kroger? Is that right?
Yeah. So I was at Kroger on the east side of Bloomington, and that wine department is the 3rd largest in the entire country.
Nice. So this other one is a single barrel from Elixir. I just went by there today. This was a rye finished in a maple barrel.
Oh, yeah, that's Maple Brulee.
Yes, sir.
That was another one of Barrel Finish Reserve projects.
So dumped in September of 24. It's like a 9-year or 4-year. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that one, that was a labor of love, even just getting those barrels. So they're originally just bourbon barrels that are like 4 to 7 years. They make their way to Bissell Maple Farm after they've been harvested. Bissell fills them with maple syrup for about 2 years and then pulls the syrup. And then they made their way all the way to Quebec, where Tonnellerie Moreau pulled the barrel heads off, charred and caramelized all of the maple syrup on the inside, and then shipped them back to us. Another custom blend just for those 8 barrels. Let those sit for about a year and some change, and put some Japil French oak in those as well. I didn't want the sweetness to kind of be the biggest thing that you're going to get. I didn't want it to feel like it was real syrupy in your mouth. So that fruit and that little bit of tannin kind of offset that a little bit, and it's really enjoyable.
And so the French oak you're throwing in there for like a little spice?
More fruit, a little bit of tannin. So Japil is it's a forest in the Loire area in France, and it's really like tight grain oak. It gives you a very fruit forward flavor.
It's really good.
Thank you. You get that hint of burnt sugar, and then it goes straight into maple, kind of coaxes it fruit.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it's not quite as bright as the other, so it's leaning a little bit more my direction.
Balance with that one was a little more difficult because it was so sweet originally.
I was about to say I could see where this one could have been too sweet had you not did a little work with it, because it needed that. But the rye and everything else kicks in just right, and I think it's pretty well balanced.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about with restraint. I would love to do like a million of projects like that and have like 4 barrels here, 6 barrels there, 2 barrels here, 4 barrels there. But trying to make it all one cohesive thing and not flood the market with all these ideas at once is pretty hard.
Sure, no doubt. Yeah, you got to be patient and kind of spread the love. I get it.
Hardest part of whiskey.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the art of it, is being patient enough to wait something out, right? Let Mother Nature do its thing.
You got it.
So far, that reserve probably would be my favorite. Double oak would be my next, but man, that maple is really nice.
Well, and the nice thing about a lot of those, so they all have, at least to some degree or another, that sweet mash rye that's right in front of you. So that's 94% rye, 6% malted barley. We wanted to make sure we did that so people didn't see 95.5 and immediately think MGP. So it's kind of a marketing thing for us, but we also did enjoy the flavor that came out of that one. But yeah, the bold spice that comes out of that high rye build that we have in that, coupled with all the fruit from the sweet mashing process, all the rounded flavor profile from the lower barrel char and toast combination that we have, it really just kind of gives us something that we can just kind of stamp hard truth on and everybody knows.
Gotcha. So I see one comment in here just talking about they didn't have a clue that you guys are doing all these different releases. And if I'm being honest, I didn't know it either. I knew about this one. I knew about the double oak.
Oh yeah.
And I had these samples and actually went digging last night through all my samples, because I was like, I know someone sent me hard truth samples and I wanted to have them for tonight. And I found these and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And apparently I had already gotten into this one, but had not tried these. And I'm pleasantly surprised. Really good.
Yeah, if you guys are curious on any of our releases, feel free to check our website from time to time. Probably like every 3-4 months, you'll see something new on there. Our social media as well. Follow Hard Truth on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn if you want to be on LinkedIn. We've always got something coming down. And it's all, we try to make sure you've got a little something extra pretty much the entire year to look forward to.
So this one is a French Oak Harvest Rye Sweet Mash, Mellencamp Whiskey Company, straight rye, finished in toasted French oak, 104 proof. Says it's a 3-year.
Yep.
And it's 72-28, 72 rye, 28 corn. Small batch of 36 barrels. Is that right?
I think, yeah, for that one. So that was a fun project for us. It's close to 4 years, but it wasn't quite 4 years, so we didn't put it on there. But those are, we got some barrels from the oldest cooperage in France. It's Tonnellerie Baronne. And I got in a little bit of trouble with accounting for those when they saw the invoice, and then they had to figure out how to pay them in euros. But so we got that one, all those barrels in, and then started resting those. And it gives you this like apricot, marshmallow, lychee, like different flavor profile than we've ever put out. But it's so inviting, and it just keeps you coming back glass after glass, and it feels like it just keeps transforming.
Awesome. So Mike is saying that Hard Truth's available in Louisiana, and that's actually where I got this one at Total Wine in Louisiana. And Bourbon Badger just said that all these samples are from his stash. Thanks for letting me know, man, because I honestly didn't know who they came from.
Hey, man,
guys, I appreciate you guys sending samples. I try to put a sticker or something on the ones that I send out so you'll know they're from me. But, I think it's always pretty cool that, if you could put your name or something on the bottle, because we all share so many samples. It's pretty cool to know who they came from. At least we can give credit to those guys. But Bourbon Badger, you did me very well on these. Solid lineup. Like, I haven't had one yet that I disliked. So that's saying a lot for you guys, Chris.
Oh yeah, thank you.
And I promise I would tell you if it wasn't for me. I mean, that's all I can say. I can't say whiskey's good or bad. All I can say is I don't like it or I do, right?
Yeah. No, that's all good. Maybe Bourbon Badger can tell you which barrel finish reserve that was. It should be the 2024 blend if I'm thinking of the right one.
Got you. Let's see here.
They're all super fun projects, though.
We'll ask that back to you, Bourbon Badger, if you could tell us what year this reserve was. The barrel finish reserve. Is it a 24?
It should be. The rest of those were released as their own individual standings. So there was one that was PX Sherry. I think I actually have a bottle of one right here. So this is that PX Brandy.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's saying he's pretty sure it was a 24. He picked it up at Riverstone in Cleveland.
Oh yeah, enjoy that one. That is fantastic stuff.
I really liked it.
They were good enough on their own, but man, that second extraction, just kind of rounding all the flavor profile out and then blending them all together, is something just truly magical.
So I'm doing the Mellencamp now, and man, I really like it too. And then again, it's kind of in the middle. Like it's not super dark, it's not super bright, right? It's just like right in the middle of that. So,
well, and all four of those projects with the Mellencamp guys have been real fun for us, real fun for them. It's Hud Mellencamp, which is John Mellencamp's son, Levi Collison, his business partner and best friend for I don't even know how long. But John allowed us to use a lot of his artwork for the labels, and it's a really cool collaborative project from us and them. And then it gives us a chance to give back to farmers through Farm Aid. So it just kind of like checks all the boxes we were looking for and what we'd want to do in a partnership. And those guys couldn't be more fun to work with.
Awesome. So the question is the PX Sherry available in the gift shop?
PX Sherry is probably gone. You might, so hit hardtruth.com, go to the Spirit Finder tab in the top right, type your zip code in and cross your fingers as hard as you can. There might be one in like the 50-mile radius from you, but they're pretty much all gone.
Gotcha. Well, it sounds like Tiffany and I will be by to see you guys sometime this year. So
yeah, up some of those bourbons, man. Those bourbons are really good too.
I need to try some of those for sure.
Yeah, so we've got our Sweet Mash bourbon, which is a 90 proof product. Really fun blend that we did with that one. We've got our Sweet Mash wheated bourbon, which is bottled and bond, and then our 4-grain bourbon, which is also bottled and bond. We just released the 4th iteration of Mellencamp. We are releasing the 4th iteration of the Mellencamp Whiskey Company, which is also a bottled and bond product. So that is another one that's just a dual grain, all Indiana grains, no barley. And those are all exclusively a prescriptive char and toast combination that Independent Stave Company produced just for our bourbon distillate specifically.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm learning more and more about these different barrel manufacturers and Independent specifically, like, and how scientific they can be in helping you get what you want out of your distillate, right? Like that, I didn't know that existed, but
Andrew Webrink is the mad scientist of barrels and all things maturation. And when he puts a spider graph up and shows you how many different flavors you extract at different points and different elevations and different temperatures, it just blows your mind.
I've heard the conversation that, as a distiller, sometimes you might get to the point where you lose confidence, feel a little bit inadequate, and then you find out about them and you go to them to get your stuff fixed. And then if you ever get to go back into some of their areas, you'll see that just about every distillery out there has been there for help at some point in time and has some kind of research going on with them. So that's pretty impressive to me to know that these guys are helping out that much. And Matt Crittenden was telling me the other day, he was like, man, the barrel makes the biggest impact on the whiskey. He's like, distillate can be average and go into a great barrel and come out and be really good whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, distillate can be really good and go into a bad barrel and just be totally ruined. And I didn't really realize that. I guess I would have guessed it's probably 50-50, right? You got to have good distillate and you got to have a pretty good barrel to get good whiskey, but you made it sound like that barrel is where it's at.
Yeah. Well, it's wild the way that works. So like you can create like a score 5 out of 5 whiskey and it goes into a normal barrel and you park it in the wrong spot and it brings the quality just a little bit below that 5, but you can put a 3 out of 5 whiskey in a regular barrel, park that in the right spot, and it will absolutely boost it. There's so many different things. It's like a weird modern day alchemy where like you can repeat the process as much as you possibly can that gave you the greatest whiskey you've ever had. And it's still so up in the air as to whether that is going to be the exact way that you wanted it to be, because all those trees are coming from different areas of the country. They're being put together all at the same time. It could be colder than average year, hotter than average year. There's so many different variables that go into it, and it makes it real fun for us and keeps us on our toes because we constantly have to be looking at like, well, what do we have? How does it taste? How do we replicate that? And constantly trying to improve our processes. So it keeps us humble for sure.
Yeah, I've been on a few barrel picks where I've experienced it, not many, but I've learned that, like even like sibling barrels, that same distillate coming off at the same time, being barreled at the same time off of barrels that just come off the same truck. But, who knows when this barrel and that barrel was made, right? But same manufacturer, cooperage or whatever. And they go in the same spot of the rick house, literally touching in the rick house. And when you go to try them, they could be 180 degrees apart. Maybe one's, darker than the other or whatever. It's just, it's crazy that they can vary that much just based off of the barrel. So,
well, and depending on the mash bill, when it comes to our single barrels, it's real fun for Brian and I to either dissect an entire, like what a batch would be constructed of and give people like those different offerings just so they can see kind of like how each one of those individual pieces tastes. Or if we find a lot or a couple lots that taste wildly different than our normal, but in a very good way, we love to offer those. We love to get people to kind of like get that bright-eyed reaction and kind of keep people guessing. But yeah, I mean, the single barrel process in itself, I mean, there's so many different flavors that you can create. I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of different flavor combinations based off of different states that the trees are sourced from, when you filled the barrel, at like which time of the year, what the proof was going in, which now ours is 113. In the last couple of years, we've kind of refined that process. But I mean, there's so much that goes into it that like you're going to get vastly different whiskey across the board in every mash bill.
That's wild. So Mike Brock is saying that the Wheated Bottle and Bond is a great pour. He said he's enjoying the High Road Rye red barrel right now.
Yeah,
guys, we've got about 5, maybe 10 minutes left. So Chris is on a tight schedule, and then I've got Larrikin right after this. So if you guys have questions that you're wanting to ask, chime in, and I'll definitely get those to Chris. So I just went back to the sweet mash rye, and I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong or bad about that. It's delicious, and I'd love to tell you it's not for me, because I feel like I like way too much whiskey, man.
Oh yeah.
But there are certain ones that aren't for me, but you guys are doing great, so I'm excited.
Well, and the nice thing that we keep coming back to over and over that we enjoyed the most out of that whiskey in particular is it has this like brown sugar, mocha, toffee, rice spice, fruit. Like it's got so many different flavors that all just kind of like marry together perfectly. And in our minds, it's kind of our representation of what a cask strength rye whiskey should be and could be. Like it should have that bold spice that just beats your mouth to death. But I mean, like in a good way. Like it's supposed to be that real big punch.
For sure, that's spot on. Sounds like you've drank y'all's whiskey before, as much as you've explained this. You're hitting it right on.
Well, it's funny to talk to people on a day-to-day basis versus like when we're doing like whatever we're gonna have the tasting notes be for each different whiskey. I mean, I can make it sound good all day, but my favorite way is just like, hey, like this should really kind of punch you a little bit on the back of the tongue, just right.
Right, no doubt. And I mean, when you go back to culinary, you know, that's something that some of us enjoy, right? You like spicy food, but you don't want something that's so spicy that you can't enjoy it, or that it's more spicy than it is flavorful. So kind of want a little bit of all that, right? So
yeah, for us, it's got to be, especially for our ryes, like if it doesn't kind of like coat your tongue, warm you up a little bit, and then slowly shift and leave that finish just kind of clinging on for a little while. Like that's kind of what we look for in each batch.
And it seems like you're doing it, and you're doing it spot on. So
fun, man. Like creating that blending evolution strategy and seeing how everything is continually getting older, and in our minds and based off the way we do our blinds, every time we release a batch of that sweet mash rye, Brian and I will blind each other from our first batch all the way to the most recent, and in order we will always pick the most recent as our favorite, and then in order descending all the way to the first batch being our least favorite, because it just keeps getting better.
Showing progression. That's exactly what you want, right?
We cross our fingers every time we pour those, and it always ends up working out that way. So
best whiskey's yet to come if you're doing it right, is what I believe.
And we're tucking some stuff back for some older releases. I won't tell you what or when, but we've got quite a few things that are going to be coming up in the near future, and I can't wait for folks to be able to get their hands on those either. One of which, the only thing I'll say is one of these batches will have our very first barrel of whiskey ever made on property in it. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
For sure. So Chase had a question. We'll get this one answered, and I'll let you wrap it up. So he's saying your regular releases are on an accumulation of various mash bills. Did he hear that right?
What do you mean by that?
Not real sure. He said, so your regular releases are an accumulation of various mash bills.
Oh yeah, he's talking about like we call it our core five. So
okay.
Sweet rye, high road rye, sweet mash bourbon, wheated bourbon, and then the 4-grain bourbon. The 4-grain's in Indiana. If you're not in Indiana, it's kind of wishy-washy if you've seen it anywhere. But at least our sweet mash rye, high road rye, sweet mash bourbon, and wheated bourbon, like those are the ones we have the biggest footprint in right now. So if you can find those, they're all delicious. They're all their own thing. And I hope everybody picks them up and enjoys them.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, thanks to my guy, Bourbon Badger, sending these to me. I think I could probably walk in a store and just grab a Hard Truth, my eyes closed, and be happy when I got home. And like I told you earlier, I've been up to the Nashville Barrel today, so I've drank quite a bit of whiskey today, quite a bit of really good whiskey too, I might say. And you know, to be able to come home and drink yours behind that and still say that I enjoy it is impressive in my opinion. So definitely think you guys are doing it right. We don't have any other questions, and it's right on 5:45. So I'm going to honor your time, man, and let you get back to the family. But if there's anything else that you wanted to say before we sign off.
Yeah, just if you guys are looking for any of these, again, go to hardtruth.com, go to the Spirit Finder tab in the top right, type in your zip code, and you'll be able to see anywhere around you that's got our products. But I appreciate you having me on, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, no problem. You guys have a good night.
Y'all take care.